Alright, what is up and welcome back to the video. So today we are getting started on my friend's KLX 450. So as you guys can see, the bike has a little bit of an oil leak. I kind of jumped the gun on this project because I had to tear the carb off to see what parts we needed. We're gonna get into that in a moment. But yeah, the bike has a bit of an oil leak. So what I found, it seems like it's leaking where the case kind of joins up here. But the whole case is a bit filthy. So I'm gonna give the bike a quick scrub down. Then I'm gonna go through and bolt check the whole motor. And then we'll move on to the other work that we need to do on the bike after that. Seeing as we are going to be scrubbing the bike, we'll clean up the header and we're going to pull off the tank and lift the subframe. So the other work that actually needed to be done, the carb needs a fuel screw adjuster. It needs a new choke plunger because this choke plunger just does not want to stay out, and that could be causing a vacuum leak. And the hard start plunger that goes in here, the thread broke off inside the carb. So we've got some water pump seals, we've got the hard start plunger kits, some fuel filters, the fuel screw, oil filter, the bolts, battery, all the good stuff. And we also need to pull some fittings off the long range tank. This long range tank is trash, it's leaking. We need to pull the fittings off and put them back onto the stock tank. So a quick little tip, if you're like me and you tore down the bike before cleaning it, if you've got your airbox and or intake exposed, you can just take the old shopping bag, put the clamp on it, or I folded it double, cut out the shape, and then you can basically stick it over the hole that you want plugged and just tighten down the clamp to hold it in place and so water doesn't go past it. Obviously you got to be careful when hitting it with a pressure washer so that you don't kind of penetrate the plastic, but it's doubled up and there is a rag, a clean rag behind it. So if you do this, remember to take out the rag when you reassemble the bike. So we're going to throw it on the airbox and then we're going to start washing down the bike. Guys, we got the bike clean. But the tips are coming in this video. Well, it's not really a tip, it's just more a complaint from my end. If you are a dirt bike owner or you're planning on owning a dirt bike, don't be a lazy f***. Clean your dirt bike properly. It's probably one of the essential parts of dirt bike maintenance, and I'm sure if you take your bike to a mechanic, he's also going to appreciate you washing the bike properly. He's not there to wash your bike, he's there to work on it. But that is not aimed at my friend. He just bought the bike as it is. It's more aimed at the previous owner. Like, this thing was so caked up with oil and grease in the bottom here. I got it fairly clean without doing too much effort. Obviously, in hindsight, I should have cleaned it properly before starting to work on it. And another issue. So I went through and I hit all the bolts on the casing, on the engine covers to make sure that they're tight. These bolts in the bottom are like at the point where the heads are starting to strip off, and there's a mismatched Allen that's completely stripped. So I did manage to snug all the bolts down a little bit, but I can't hammer too hard on these ones in the bottom because they're just going to strip off. Ideally I'd have to get new hardware and replace them. I just need to get the bike running. But we've got the little paper sheet here, and hopefully in a couple of minutes we won't see a new oil leak over there. The next job is going to be the carby, installing the new hot start plunger, the air fuel screw, and I mean, even look at this carb. That's freaking disgusting, man. Alrighty, so for the fuel mixture screw, we've got the Tusk one from EMD Racing. That's super simple to install. You just need a flathead screwdriver for that. And someone was so kind to coat mine in paint. You know, when other people use your tools. No respect. So let's do that first. You just remember to check what the fuel screw is currently set to. This one is set to about 2.5 turns. And we're obviously going to tune the bike when it's back up and running again. So just want to get it in the ballpark. So we've got the little adjuster with a small little washer. It's coming out. The new one is just a little adjuster with the same spring and washer setup in the front. And it's numbered. Screw it in. Okay, simple as that. Next thing we got, hot start plunger kit for KLX 450. There's the all balls part number right there. So what happens is this little plastic piece gets brittle, and then there where the thread goes into the carb, it breaks off. This kit includes a new plunger, spring, O-ring, everything you need. So then we could pull it off the old one. Super simple. Pull the cable out, pull the spring off, pull that little sucker off, and then pull the steel and rubber sleeve off. Plunger attachment itself. New spring. Put the spring seating on there. And done. Now it's ready to be screwed back into the carb. Alright, so it's been a couple of days since we last worked on the KLX. I threw the subframe back together. I got these casing bolts tightened up, but the oil is just barely seeping out at the bottom, so those bolts would have to be replaced. And yeah, I think that gasket could possibly be compromised, but as soon as Neil gets the new bolts, he will throw them in and then he'll kind of take it from there. I'm not going to be doing that because you need to remove the whole motor and we just don't have time for that. So as I mentioned, I got the whole bike back together, or not the whole bike back together, got the carb on, got the subframe on. We are quickly going to assemble the rest of the bike, and we've got some fuel in the tank and it's not leaking, so that's a success. We're going to throw the bike back together and then we are going to run it to see if we can get the idling and the fuel adjustment proper. Then we'll see if the water pump is leaking when the bike heat cycles. So I don't think you guys want to see another time lapse of me just throwing plastics on a bike. So let's just do a good old YouTube snapperoonie. Alrighty, we've got the bike all the plastics thrown back on and the muffler or silencer back on. Got that tied up there. I don't think it's either this is the incorrect fuel tank. It matches up to the frame, but this might be like a KLX fuel tank, or these are the incorrect shrouds, because as you can see, they don't really line up. So I've got them tight just to hold them on there, but not so tight that strip out the threaded inserts to try and pull it into place. Might be that these plastics are just old. So what we are going to do now, we are going to check the fueling of the bike to make sure that that is correct. So most factories recommend that the idle speed should be between 1700 and 1900 RPM. We don't have a RPM tester, and this bike does not have a speedo, so I doubt if we'd be able to test that. But the bike is on fairly stock jetting. It's on a 45 pilot jet and a 150 main jet. And currently, as a baseline, we have the fuel screw turned out 1.5 turns. So that's where they usually recommend you start to tune the fuel ratio on a 4-stroke. So we're going to start the bike, get it up to operating temperature, set the idle as low as possible without stalling, or about at that 1800 RPM mark, and then we'll adjust the fuel screw out to 2 turns, and we'll see where it sits from there. If you guys were wondering what website I'm referencing for the tuning instructions, Pro Factory Hoses. So they have this informational piece on how to adjust the fuel mixture screw properly on the FCR carburetors. So profactoryhoses.com. But there's obviously a lot of information out there on how to do this properly, so refer to your factory manual or a certified site on the internet. You should be heading in the right direction. So yeah, let's get the bike warmed up. Right, so it's definitely running very lean. That's why the idle kind of is jacked up. So I'll turn down the idle a bit, I'll turn down the idle a bit, adjust the fuel screw, because the thing is like instantly running hot, so it must be lean. And I just found out the kill switch does not work. So yeah, there's that. Got to pop it into first and then install it out. Used bikes, so nice. Okay, let's try this again. I've got the idling turned down by 1 full turn. I went up, or I turned the fuel screw out another half a turn. So now from 1.5, it's on 2 now. Let's start it up and see what it sounds like. The throttle tube that's getting stuck. Damn it. Used bikes. At least it's warmed up now. So we've got the throttle tube adjusted, but if you blip the throttle, it still hangs the idle very high. So I'm going to give it a little bit more fuel, see what it does. So after some more adjustment off camera, I think it would be wise to go up to a richer pilot jet. I think the 45 is a bit lean. We've got the fuel screw adjusted about 3 1/4 turns out, and when you blip the throttle, it doesn't hang a high idle. It comes back down like it should pretty quick, but it's still shooting flames out of the exhaust. So I think that's still a bit lean. But yeah, have a listen to this. Alrighty, so we've got the bike running pretty nicely, and I just shined the bike up a bit to kind of give Neil an idea of the potential that the bike has. So the bike still needs quite a bit of work, but at least now Neil can take it for a ride and enjoy it, and like I said, he can see what potential it has. So now he can at least make an informative decision whether he wants to continue working on the bike to fix all the other issues on it, or if he wants to get out of it and get rid of the bike. So that's it for the KLX 450 content. If Neil decides to keep the bike, I will probably take it out one day and do a quick little ride video with it. I think you guys and I will enjoy that. The next garage video that we're going to be doing is on the KLX. I'm going to do a little DIY foot peg widening, practice a bit of the welding skills, so stay tuned for that. And this weekend we are going to be competing in the first round of the EWXC. It's a hair scramble hard enduro style race, and I'm very much looking forward to that. The KT250 should perform nicely. I don't know how well I'm going to perform because I'm fairly unfit. I'm trying to train as much as possible. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any tips and tricks when it comes to maintenance on the KLX 450s, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you think I earned it, please hit that like button and hit subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out and keep ripping.